Hello, everyone. Okay, welcome to the next installment of our virtual club development series. I'm Jocelyn Poirier, Manager of Rugby Development at Rugby Ontario, and with me again is our club development intern, Justin Bovell. And we are excited to introduce our session tonight, which is a deferred continuous from our previous session. So if you missed that one on finance, make sure you go watch the recording in the virtual portal to get yourself caught up. Whether you do that now, if you're watching this in recording form, or after, if you're with us right now. We're getting into marketing and communications today, but before we get to that, a reminder to keep your microphones muted while you're listening. Use the chat for questions and comments while we're presenting. And then feel free to leave your cameras on as well, so we know who we're talking to. We can see your faces and how you're responding as we go. But a note that we are recording again, so those who missed it will be able to read it, will be able to watch it, and those of you will be able to revisit, because I think there will be a lot here. So you'll have the slides afterwards, you'll have the recording, and you can come back to it as you go. No worries, yeah, Leanne, if you're finishing dinner, we'll catch your face later, I'm sure. Okay, we've got an hour and a half tonight, lots to cover. So if you've got questions, again, you want to follow up later, that is fine. But send stuff in the chat. We'll get to as much as we can for tonight. Okay, once again, I am coming to you from Gananoque, Ontario, the traditional territory of the Wendat, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples, land covered by the Crawford Purchase of 1783. And Rugby Ontario member clubs and all of us, all of you across the province, are situated on traditional Indigenous territories as well. So we are grateful to the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people who have been the caretakers of this land and continue to care for it and allow us to work and live and play in this beautiful province. So if any of you would like to acknowledge where you're coming from or share your gratitude intentions yourself, please go ahead and use the chat to do so. And without further ado, I'll introduce our speaker tonight, Jillian Bowman. Jillian is a seasoned fractional chief marketing officer and co-founder at Athena CXO, with nearly 3 decades of marketing expertise to her name. Jillian also has a rugby connection, as she has been actively involved with her family with the Crusaders Rugby Club and served as their director of communications last year. So thank you and welcome to Jillian. And with that, I will hand it over to you.
Thanks very much, Jocelyn. I'm excited to be here. I'm glad we got a double time slot, because I think we're going to need it. So I'm not going to spend too much time at the front end here. We'll just jump in. I'm going to rely heavily on Jocelyn and Justin to monitor the chat and stop me when there are questions coming in. I would love to make this as interactive as possible, because I think otherwise 90 minutes listening to one person drone on can be a task that nobody should be asked to do on a Monday night. So we're here, we're in it together, we're one team. So participate just to keep yourself engaged, and I will try to keep it as entertaining as possible. I know lots and lots and lots of people have loads of questions about marketing, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. Strategic marketing is what we're going to cover off today, and specifically strategic marketing for volunteer-run, community-based rugby clubs. So I have tailored it. We're not going to be skimming, well, we will skim the surface, just because, I mean, it's a 30-year career that I'm distilling into 90 minutes. So it's fairly surface, but I'm going to give you some hacks to help you deep dive. My hope is that I'm providing you with the information and the tools, and hopefully some support tools, so that you can walk away and actually create a really great strategy for this coming season. And at the very least, you'll be ready to roll for next season. So here we go. Rugby club marketing myths. Yeah, so it's only just about getting people to register and play, right? Buy tickets for events. That's all marketing's about, right? Anybody hear that before? It's just about sending out some social media posts. How hard could it be? Maybe a few email blasts. It can be run by a few students and a summer internship. Or it's different because nobody cares about brands and all that stuff. They just want to play rugby. Or it's a cost line item. It's not revenue generating, so we can't focus on it. These are some marketing myths that I hear from corporate clients that I work with. And I've also heard it from rugby clubs that I've worked with as well. and just other sort of rugby club of associated people, whether they've been on a board or they're just part of the community. It's like, oh, well, we just talk to each other, and that's how we know how to show up to where and when. And that is true. That's the beauty of a rugby club and the rugby, community, is that everybody does talk to each other. And if you're in, you're in, you know what's going on. But it's the fringe audiences that we want to kind of be more strategic about bringing in and keeping in for the long haul. So here's where I'm coming from. We touched a little bit about it. 25 plus years. I think I'm heavier on the plus side of that now, but 25 years in developing brands, business growth strategies, internationally as well as across Canada, for not-for-profits, for profits, for Fortune 500 companies, you name it. 14 plus years in the rugby world with my kids playing. My husband is an alumni and a coach. I played non-contact poorly, but I gave it a good go, and then finally figured my place maybe was on the board for a year. And now I'm back on the sidelines and probably will continue playing touch this summer. So that is the involvement. We are 100% rugby participation. The boys all played. My daughter was the bartender at the clubhouse. I'm on the board, so we're all in over here at Bowman Household. But today we want to talk about the 6 reasons clubs need to get strategic. We really want to focus obviously on increasing registrations. I mean, that's what we're all hoping to do. We want to bring in as many people into our clubs as possible. That's cool. But also we need to increase volunteer signups and volunteers coming back, not just for the events to flip burgers, but like to take on seasonal roles that are going to help move the club forward. So that's really what we want to do as well. So those are like the 2 acquisition areas is volunteers and support, because we don't want to have volunteer burnout. So the more the merrier. And then also obviously more members. We also want to try to attract and acquire sponsors, because, more money in the pot just makes everything a little bit easier. Decisions are easier to make. It's easier to say yes to certain things when you've got some money in the kitty to support, providing support. We also want to increase engagement, because for the volunteers that do show up, we want to show up for a reason, right? We want lots of people showing up to events. We want, parents engaged. But one of the biggest reasons that engagement is important, not just for social media metrics, but engagement is a key and critical piece of loyalty. It's really hard to leave a club once you've been involved in building it, right? Once you get engaged, even a little bit, just you're the photo taker on your kids' team one year, and then next year you might be the team manager, and then eventually you might join the board or a committee or something to get things rolling. And so when parents can get engaged and they're doing more than just watching their kids run around the field in a sport that they don't really understand, then that staying power is increased like tenfold. Security. So being strategic upfront increases the long-term security for funding partners, recurring revenue streams, grant applications. Some grant applications are for a longer term, or they take forever to come in. And so you have to have a long-term strategic plan in order to secure those kinds of partners. And then, the ultimate, the holy grail is loyalty. So increasing club loyalty and knowing that you've got advocates, like brand and club advocates, that are out there selling for you, just in the way that they are telling their friends to get their kids into rugby. That's like the marketer's holy grail, right? So let's do our best to focus on being strategic in these 6 areas, and we'll see how it shakes out at the end of 90 minutes. Oops, hold on. How do I make it go? There we go. All right. Here is our roadmap. Now, this is a strategy roadmap. It generally takes organizations a couple of months to build out a strategy. In this framework, we're going to do it in 90 minutes. Everybody ready? No problem. If you do have a pen or paper or something, there are some skill testing questions throughout here. But they will help to drive some of the points home. So hopefully, you can all grab something to scribble down with and follow along. So first, sorry, I'm going to just head back this way. The strategy roadmap that we're going to follow today, building our brand, is where we're going to start and spend a lot of time. We're going to set some growth objectives. For the purpose of the presentation, I've set some. I'm pretty sure that they would be solid growth objectives for pretty much any club out there. If you've got ones already established because you've had a strategy meeting or you've got a sense for where you want to go, then certainly you can use your own metrics in this. You will get a copy of this presentation after, so you can sort of, take what we've done together and then apply it to your own numbers. Plan and budget. And this is like, literally 20 years of my career. But I have created a swipe file for you that you'll be able to just plug your own numbers in, and then your whole strategy for the year will be done for you. Man, I'm like 70%. You'll have to go and tweak some stuff. But I mean, we'll get you a lot of the way there. At least enough. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, at least enough to be able to make a good case to get some budget. And then execution. So if we get to execution and we still have some time, I'm happy to walk you through tips and tricks and hacks and programs and things to automate, whatever. But I have a feeling by then there might be some glazed over looks. And then the measurement piece is actually included in that tracker from the planning and budgeting. So we're going to cover that off earlier. So I think we're going to be good. Any questions before we jump in? Does anybody have any hopes, but they don't see it represented here?
We've got some excitement about the budget template in the chat, so.
Right, I know. I'm the biggest thing. Everybody's favorite hack. Okay. So building your brand, we hear about this all the time. How many times? Vision and mission and club values, and it sounds so soft and woo, and we spend all this time developing this vision and mission, and it just collects dust, or it becomes a plaque that people hang their coats over top of at the club. Nobody ever does anything with it. And it's not just rugby clubs, you guys. Companies all over the world they build these things, and it takes up space on the website, and it really doesn't impact anything else. But I'm going to show you how to leverage all of these things through your entire marketing strategy. It'll help you in your board meetings. It becomes the guide and filter with which every decision gets made. It kind of just makes every decision easier, because you're like, well, we have a checklist. Does this decision check off these buckets? Oh, then it's a no-brainer. Of course, we're going to do it. So it just helps to kind of bring everything together and put everything in perspective. And so spending time to figure out what your club values are, what your vision and mission is, I can't even tell you how important it is. So just to recap, the reason to do this is because you want to give the people that you care about, give your stakeholders a reason to believe in you, a reason to show up, a reason to care. That's the whole point of this. So if you want your vision to be this huge, audacious goal, something that you want the club to be known for in 10 years. The mission is the impact that the club / board / you as a coach, as a whoever, the impact that you want to make within the community, your community of stakeholders, every single year. So what is the impact you want to make every year? That's your mission. And what do you want to be known for in 10 years? That's your vision. Then your club values are kind of how you show up every day. So your club values are, we're competitive, we believe in excellence, whatever those club values are, those are the things that coaches bring to every single practice. Those are the things that your volunteer awards are based on, or your coach of the year awards, or your player of the year, or your club man of the year, whatever those awards are based around those club values. Those are the things that fuel the effort that is required to show up for the mission every day, day in, day out, day in, day out. And that's kind of the ingredients that go in to the final dessert that is the vision 10 years from now. It's all made with the values of those really great chocolates and the other ingredients that go into making the yummy dessert. And then the value promise is how those values come to life. So every single club might have the same value They might list one, like the same value we want to win or whatever it is, but how they show up to represent that value might be different. And in fact, I encourage, at the board level, you might create the values, but then to deliver that down through the organization, through coaches and players and parents, and everybody can do their own values promise pledge, like a values pledge. How are you going to represent the values of the club? How is that going to look for you? And it's okay that it looks different for everybody, but that's how everyone sort of embodies the values of the club and becomes super fans. Does that make sense? So we're going to run through a few examples. You are going to get this deck later, so I'm going to kind of zip through. But just to show you that not all clubs are created the same, right? So Club A, their big goal, they want to be the most successful club, most successful community rugby club, right? Their vision, become the preeminent, most successful rugby club. Cool. Our mission is to foster a vibrant rugby culture that promotes inclusivity, sportsmanship, personal development through coaching, robust infrastructure, meaningful community engagements, and we aim to empower our members to reach their full potential and achieve success in rugby and in life. Cool, awesome mission. And then their values, excellence, integrity, collaboration, community, and fun. Cool, pretty standard, right? No problems with that. Club B, they want to be the family-friendly rugby club. That's what they want to be known for. So they want to be recognized as the premier family-friendly rugby club, fostering supportive and inclusive environment where players of all ages and abilities can thrive. Families can bond over the joy of rugby. That's a valuable vision. That would be amazing, right? Their mission to provide a welcoming and nurturing space for individuals and families. That's completely different than Club A. And their values, inclusivity, respect, family, fun, excellence, like amazing values, completely different vibe, amazing rugby club still, right? Club C, we want to be the most inclusive rugby club, right? Become the premier destination for inclusive rugby, where every individual is welcome, valued, and empowered to thrive, both on and off the field. Solid. Mission to create a supportive, inclusive environment. That sounds familiar, right? From mission B. They want to have teamwork, respect, camaraderie, and strive to foster personal growth. So the mission starts off the same as Club B, but then it ends a little differently, right? So even though they've got a lot of similar values, inclusivity, respect, teamwork, excellence shows up again, fun shows up again, integrity, a lot of similarities, but they're kind of showing up a little bit different. And then D, they want to be the most competitive rugby club. They want to be the most competitive and respected rugby club in our community, known for the commitment to excellent sportsmanship and community engagement, like Rugby First, right? Excellence, teamwork, discipline, integrity, community. So it's cool, 4 different clubs, 4 different missions and variations on visions. Excellence shows up in the value statements for all of them. Everybody wants to show up with excellence, right? But excellence means different things to each of them. So they're showing up. We strive to be excellent in everything that we do, from player development to community outreach, setting high standards. Like, there's some high expectations. The bar is set high for Club A. For Club C, they're committed to continuously improving, striving for excellence, cool, in their performance, in coaching, administration, and in the experiences that they create for all members of the rugby community. So they want to be excellent in creating an experience for people. Completely different kind of excellent than Club A or D or B. You see how these are super, super important differentiating factors in building out a brand, that you can be talking authentically to an audience of rugby members of various different clubs and still stand out in your own lane. So this is the importance of developing and building a brand. Does anybody have any questions about the, very quick summary of brand development that I've just gone through? No, pretty basic, right? It does feel like a lot of work when you kind of get into it with your board members or with your club. There are strategies to roll that out. You can kind of involve the entire club in creating them. Sometimes that becomes a little bit of a task to manage, but there's also platforms that can do that for you. So if you have that question, let me know and I'll let you know what the things are. What the platforms are that you can use for that. Okay, I'm trying to get this to go forward. Okay, let me just do that. So I'm wondering if I skipped something. No. All right. So for the rest of the presentation, I'm going to go through and use Club A as like a model, I guess, for some of our examples. Club A and Club B are going to show up in a few places. So, Club A is a pretty much all around. We just want to show up and be great. Great as a rugby club, great at rugby, great as organized community sports people. Okay. Building out their ideal customer. So now we know, okay, who am I? Who are we? Who are we being? That's our brand, right? How do we show up? Who are we? What are we saying when we get there? Cool. Now who are we talking to, right? Who is our audience? Now, a lot of times by the time people get to the board level, you've been at the club for 10 years. So you've got a close-knit group of people that you've sort of come up through the club ranks with, right? And you've got this, you show up at events, you all sit together, and it's great. And that becomes your vision or your view of the club. And so a lot of times as marketers, especially when you've got like a day job and you come and you have to do marketing for the club now you kind of, it's easy to forget that you're dealing with like what the actual audience is that you're dealing with, and not just like the close knit group of people that you sit on the board with or that you play with or on your team or what have you. There's like a huge pool of people that you're trying to get more engaged. A lot of times we're trying to get engaged, but we're talking to the people that are already engaged. You're sort of preaching to the choir at that point. You need to preach to the choir of the people that are not showing up at church. You got to get them in the door. So for those clubs that have minis and juniors programs, you're talking to millennial and Gen X parents, right? You're talking to 35 to 55-year-olds. It is illegal for you to market to anybody under the age of 16. So we're not talking to the juniors, we're talking to their parents. There's ways to make it attractive to them, but we can't target them directly. So no bueno, we talk to their parents. 35 to 55-year-old professional men and women with kids. So those people are interested in like flag rugby or touch rugby. They're interested in a program that is safe, a safe option for their kids to explore the sport that looks scary. They're also interested in value, but family oriented. Like the whole concept of being at a club with their kids, and they can be just as part of it as their kids are, and they're not just like the hockey mom in the parking lot waiting for practice to be over. So that's a big selling feature. It's a new thing from most other clubs options that they have for them. Like ski clubs work similarly. But for the most part, as far as parents dropping their kids off at sports go, you're just parking lot parents basically. And these parents are seeking opportunities for personal fitness as well and social interaction, and the club environment certainly provides all of that. So this consumer avatar is definitely family oriented. They are health and fitness oriented for themselves, and they're concerned about it for their kids too. Community involvement is important to them, and social events, social interactions is still on their list of their wish list. Their goal is finding a sport where their kids that their kids enjoy, but is also an environment for the whole family. Nothing worse than dropping your kid off at one and the other kids are screaming because they hate being there. And so having an environment that everyone can have fun in, that's super important. And then I'll just leave this. You can go through all of the little nuances, but it's really important to understand the interests and the goals and the challenges that your ideal customer is facing in the current sort of landscape and environment of choosing sports for their family to participate in. So you want to make sure that you're super hyper aware of your audience, who you're talking to, but who you're talking to when they are in the place of making a decision, not once they've already joined your membership, right? They're out there, they don't know about rugby yet, or they do, and you need to influence their decision making. So you're changing behaviors and influencing decisions in marketing, and that's the headspace you need to get into, or that you need to understand about your audience. We're going to talk about retention models and understanding your membership base once they are with you, but that doesn't really change from their original avatar, except for the fact that they have more experience with your club now. But you really want to understand where their influences come from, and then how you can fit into that influence environment to change their behavior and affect their choices. So this particular avatar of customer, they are influenced by expert or perceived expert recommendations. So whether it's their know-it-all friend, or it's, an association or alignment with another sport or media or something, trusted friends, and the ability to try without extensive commitment. So those are things that are going to, like, well, so-and-so said it was great, so we'll give it a try, or there's no harm in trying because, I can back out anytime, or whatever, those kinds of opportunities. Those are of interest to them. So, try it days, come out and try, maybe, try it days for the parents too, like come out and learn how to play touch for a day, have a little workshop so they understand the rules of the game, that kind of stuff, just to take the barrier and take any kind of reservations away. Just make sure that parents don't get hurt when they're trying it, because that defeats the purpose. And then which media are you going to reach them in? Millennials and Gen X are still on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter/X. And they listen to a ton of podcasts. So if you've got any podcast connections, get out there that reach sort of your community. Definitely get somebody from your team out there doing podcasts. YouTube still also, but particularly because it helps you rank in SEO. We'll get to that later. The other avatar, sort of a secondary audience, is the millennial and Gen Z, so 18 to 35. These are your senior level players. They're off to university, or maybe sometimes if they're not playing varsity, it might be the first time in their life that they're not playing a competitive sport. By the time they get home from first year, they're kind of jonesing for some competitive something, because they haven't had it all year. So you can definitely target them. It's kind of the first time you can start targeting the younger kids in your organization, even though they're adults. But these are the players that are going to join your club for their own reasons. They're joining your club because they want to be there, because they want the activity level, they want the social environment, they want the culture, they want to go all in on this whole sports club, community club vibe, right? They want that engagement, the friendship opportunities, to be part of something that they can actually be part of for their own reasons, not because their parents are dropping them off. So it's actually a really fun target to talk to through marketing channels. So they're recent grads, or they're young professionals, they're men and women, they're single, or they're in a relationship but they have no kids. That's what RNK means. Again, their interests: staying active, making new friends, socializing, competitive sport, and learning a new skill, or learning new sports. And their interests, or their influences: brand value and aspiration. The biggest difference between millennials and Gen Z and Gen X and the older millennials is brand values. If they don't align with the brand values of an organization, they're just not going to spend their money there. It won't even cross their radar. Like, it's not even going to, they won't even have the choice, because their algorithms, where they get all of their information from, won't serve your content up to them, because it knows that it doesn't align with the kind of content that they engage with. So they will also be influenced by their friends and other influencers. So they'll trust another influencer who they've never met over a paid ad any day of the week. And the ability to try with a friend. So like any kind of bring a buddy opportunity, they're in. They're willing to try new things. ideally, if it's like without a long-term commitment, but if they can try with a buddy, they're probably more, they're gonna sign up for sure. And then like that'll be the thing that kind of pushes them over the edge. A lot of other things have to line up, like their challenges have to be met and their interests have to be met. And then if they get to try with a buddy, then it's a no-brainer. Media, again, Instagram. The older millennials are on X, Twitter, and then YouTube and podcasts. So they will, if they are coming out to like try rugby, they're going to hit up YouTube and then be like, what the heck am I doing? What is, please somebody show me how to play this game because they don't want to show up and try something new and be like totally newbie at it. So they're going to go to YouTube first. And if the club that they're going to try rugby at has how-to tutorials pop up, then I mean, they're in. So that is where you're going to reach them, and how you're going to convert them. How you talk to them is entirely aligned with your brand. So every single club that has a minis program is going to be talking to the same audience, right? Every club that has a senior program is going to be talking to the same demographic audience. You're all talking to the same people. You're in your own market, but there's a halo effect, especially out near Oakville. There's a whole bunch of clubs around here, and we're, you know, the internet just talks to the internet. And so, you know, whoever is ranking higher is going to get the, you know, the first looks basically from the search. But people, moms and dads, they're going to go to the closest club. Like they're still reasonable. They're not gonna, for the most part, drive all over everywhere just to go to one club that popped up. So the voice that you use is entirely aligned with your brand. And that's gonna be a huge deciding factor for a lot of people, is if you show up and talk in your authentic brand voice as, you know, the club that wants to be the most successful club, or the club that wants to be the most family-oriented club. If I am signing my kids up and none of us know anything about rugby, but I just want to do something with my kids, then I'm going to pick the one that sounds more family-oriented, which is great. That's great for the club who wants to be family-oriented. It's great for me. And the club that wants to be super, super successful and known as the most successful club or the most competitive club is going to be totally fine with that, because they probably don't want us there who just want to go have a good time and blow up balloons and stuff, right? Like it's fine. So as long as you know what your brand is and you speak in an authentic voice. So like we're Club A and we speak with confidence and clarity and passion. And we're Club A, our vibe is that we show up ready to win and we're wearing our colors with pride. And the visuals are strong and bold. They're either black and white or they show their club colors. So the tone and message, that is the tone of the message that's delivered, is just as important as the message itself that's being delivered. And the way that it looks affects the tone in a lot of ways, but it affects also the look and feel of everything that the brand does. So it's easily recognizable, right? And, you know, you could have a word that people in your club say all the time, and then that's splashed all over your social media. So that's kind of part of your vibe or part of your voice. And it all becomes sort of this mood board of what is your club? What does it mean to be part of your club? It's the little nuances that allow you to go and speak on behalf of your club, and you know exactly what to say and how to say it. And it might not be at all how you normally talk, but it's the voice of the club. And then you can hand it off to anybody to help you out on social media because you have a guideline of how to talk. This is the vibe that we're going for. And then you can sort of recruit more help, which is ultimate goal, really. So this is obviously the mood board that I created when one of them, when I was at Crew. Yours does not have to look the same, but the vibe of it is very much Crusaders. You know, this is pretty much encapsulated what we were going for. And hopefully that was represented over the last year of Crew posts, but And this is true for crew. It might not be for your organization, and that's fine. It's cool. You like everybody looking the same isn't going to help anybody out, right? So you knowing what your brand is and developing your mood, developing your vibe, your look, your feel, your message, everything, how you do everything, and then actually showing up that way is going to be the differentiator that helps you with retention. So this part of the presentation is very much about establishing who you are, who you're talking to, and how you're showing up to serve them, period. Whether they're already part of your club or they're joining your club, whatever, you have to show up the same way. So even though, you might feel like, oh, we have to be competitive in order to attract the right kind of people, but you don't have, like, there's nobody in your organization that is willing to show up as that, like, or whatever you think is required to show up as the competitive people. Like, if you don't have people that are willing and able or interested in showing up in that way, then don't make that part of your brand. Don't make it part of your values. Really, like, make sure that your values actually represent what you want to be known as and for. Yeah. Too many people trying to be like other clubs that they feel are successful, but then they can't deliver on it. So just be authentic to your current membership and to who you are and what you want to strive for. So all right, so we built our brand in like record time, like career high. And anybody lost? No? Good job. All right, I'm just going to check down to see if I see any other nodding heads. No, everybody has got their camera off. Oh, I got a thumbs up. Thank you. All right, we're going to go on to growth metrics. The ultimate goal, the holy grail, lifetime warranty or loyalty warranty. I wish we had warranty on our players now. Lifetime loyalty. Yeah, that is the holy grail of all marketing in all industries ever. I worked for Volkswagen. They were one of my clients a million years ago. And the number and Honda, the number of Civic tattoos on people's bodies and Volkswagen tattoos, couldn't believe it. And then Starbucks and Mac. And then the ultimate was our Crusaders logo on the arm of an Arrows player. Like, oh, huzzah. That's my kid, but stepson. So I feel like I'm okay. I got approval to use the picture, but that is the holy grail. That is like, okay, that's lifetime loyalty. If they're willing to put it on their body forever, then like you've got the mark. But then how do we know? Okay, obviously we're not going to encourage all of our members to get tattoos of our logos. Like, that's just not, I'm not even going to suggest that. But that level of loyalty, there's nothing wrong with striving for that. There's nothing wrong with, like, in your time at the club, I would just love to see one person tattoo this on their body. And he's not the only one that has it from our club, which is the odd thing. But like, that's the ultimate. They're not going to any other club when they have this logo on them. They're not going to go anywhere else, I don't think, unless they just don't live here anymore, but whatever. So that's what we're striving for. But there's a lot of loyalty to be had before you get to a tattoo on your body, right? And that's probably the journey that we need to focus a little bit more on. This is the member loyalty journey. So they first join season 1, they're excited or they're skeptical. They're one or the other. Your jobs as board members, as marketers, is to identify where they are at. If they're super excited, get them on the committee, on an organizing, on a something. They're snack parents, they're whatever. They bring the first aid kit, like, get them doing something, engaged with the club. If they're excited, like, they're in already. If they're skeptical, invite them out for a how-to, maybe just let them sit and watch, check in with them, but don't let them stay quiet for too long, because then they're just going to come up with their own answers if they're skeptical, right? So you have to know and understand where they're at from year 1. Year 2, now they're evaluating the promises that you made. So they bought in year 1 based on marketing, word of mouth, whatever reasons were that they joined. When it comes time to join again, they're going to be evaluating how you delivered on your promise. So first of all, you need to be aware of what promises they feel you've made to them in year one. Why did you join? Simple question. Hey, how are you? You're new here? Great. What made you join the club? Oh, now you know. If somebody says, I joined because of this, and that is not aligned at all with the club values or anything that you think that they're going to actually, I joined because, you know, my kid wants to play in the Olympics. I'm not really sure we can deliver on that promise, sir. This year, your 6-year-old is not playing in the Olympics in 4 years. But, you know, great, there's a, you know, whatever you want to say to that. But at the same time, you have to manage expectations a little bit, right? So, but definitely get to know what promise they bought in on, because it could just be their own perception of, like, they might have taken something that was said in advertising or in whatever and understood it differently, and then they joined as a result, and you're never going to be able to deliver on that. So make sure you really get to know your new members, because in year 2, they're evaluating that promise. And if you didn't deliver on your promise, they're probably going to either, if they've got a choice for another club, they might go check them out, or they're just going to switch sports, or they might join again. But if they join again and they feel like undelivered promises were made, they're going to be really looking for them, and they might be a bit sour, right, in year 2. And then year 3, they're just going to be gone, or they're going to have a renewed faith because maybe promises were met in year 2. Oh, okay. Now I get it. Yeah, I just didn't understand last year. Now I understand, and I think this is awesome, so I'm in. And then they'll stay, right? So you have to understand that their loyalty journey is like they're going through a journey too. It's not just a given that they're going to show up the next year. By year 4, now they're planting roots. Now they've got some friends they're excited to see again when the season kicks back up again. Now they feel like they can notice who's a new family. They're probably out there like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you here before. Oh, I've had my kids here for 4 years now. It's really great. Oh, you got to meet this person over here. Like, that's when they're planting roots and they're establishing themselves, and they kind of feel like they're part of the fabric of the club. By year 5, they're now invested in the growth. Now they're either on a committee, they're involved somehow, their kids are really invested. Maybe the kids are, they want to coach a mini, they want to assistant coach a mini's kid, a mini's team, or like whatever the thing is, somebody in the family is now becoming really, really invested in the sport and also in your club. And so by year 5, you're really pushing. Now they're almost thinking about a tattoo, right? They might think it's less crazy to get a tattoo by year 5. You might need to be year 10 or 15 to actually do it, but by year 5, they're like, oh, okay, I can see that. So that is the journey. Ultimate goal being loyalty. In order to create loyalty, we need to do a bunch of things. We have to have people in, we got to keep people in. We need to, in order to have people in, keep people in, we need to fund them. So we need sponsorships. And in order to do all of that, increase volunteering, increase engagement, keep everybody happy, then we need to focus on increasing engagement as well. So we've got engagement, sponsorship, retention, and new acquisitions. Those are our 4 main objectives. Pretty much every club is going to have those objectives, or they should. So the reason you want to have super engaged a club, because a club of 100 people that are super engaged super fans is going to get a sponsorship way faster than a club of 500 completely not engaged people who don't care, right? So if you've got great membership numbers plus great engagement, you'll have, and great brand values, you will have sponsors seeing your club as really, really great brand alignment to their brand, and they will want to sponsor you because you've got an engaged, captive audience. And that's like the holy grail for them. Engaged, captive audience that are gonna like support whoever supports them. Great, it's amazing, especially for community clubs. You don't need huge sponsorships, right? But you've got so many properties that you can sponsor, or that you can, like, assets that you can let people sponsor. And that just takes some creativity, and that's an entirely new other session. We won't even get into that, but super important. That's on the radar. And so the more that you know, it's hard to convince a lot of people sometimes to invest in the engagement side of things because there's no direct measurement. Like putting effort into retention, there's a direct measurement, and you know, registrations, obviously, new registrations and sponsorship, like there's a revenue line item attached to it, but engagement's kind of hard to see it other than like more people attending events equals more money at the event. So that's good. But having that makes volunteering, or sorry, makes sponsorship increase. It makes everybody stick around longer because it's more fun and it's more engaging. So it really is the piece of the puzzle that glues everything else together and kind of creates that security piece for you. So investing in increasing engagement is critical, even though it doesn't have a direct revenue line item. All right, okay. Marketing math metrics. Everyone still with me? Everyone like glazing over yet? Okay. Okay, retention rate. I'm going to go through just a couple of metrics. I'm going to pepper them in throughout. These are very important. Retention rate, obviously, how many people stick around. Attrition rate, how many people we lose or don't renew. Customer lifetime, the average number of times a customer will renew their purchase before trying something new. So in our case, because they renew once a year, it's an annual thing. It's an annual number that you get, and you figure that out by, you know, it's just like 1 divided by the attrition rate, or that's the formula right there. Some of you will have, you know, if you look back in your numbers, maybe you'll have we lost this many people, so you'll have an attrition rate. So like this is the formula that you'll use, and if you've got the retention rate, that's the formula you'll use. So a quick pop quiz. Okay, get your pencils and your paper out. If Club A has an average retention rate of 70% and Club B has an average retention rate of 65%, what is the average number of years that a member stays at each club? Do drop it in the chat. Some of you either have it figured out or you're just not playing my game.
Anybody in the chat?
Okay, I'm just gonna.
I didn't write down the formula.
Oh, hold on. Let me see. There we go. Okay, I'll take the curtain. I'll reveal the curtain now. All right, Club A, with 70% retention, they will retain somebody for 3.3 years. Club B will retain somebody for 2.9 years. Whoops, go the wrong way. So on that member loyalty journey scale, you can see that Club B is going to lose their people on average at like just before the 3rd season. So they're not going to get 3 seasons on average out of their members. Whereas only 5% difference in retention rate allows Club A an entire other season before people are at risk of trying another club or not coming back. So I know that a lot of clubs don't have their retention rate information. Track it this year, however you can. Track the information, whether it's just pull a list of everybody that registers, compare it line item by line item with everyone that registers next year, and you'll know who dropped and who's new. And then you'll know your retention rate. Overall, I think we're all at about, as an average, we're somewhere between 65 and 70. And that's not rugby club specific. I think that's all contact sports in Ontario. That's like a general, and I'm sorry, right now I cannot for the life of me remember where that stat came from, but it was a lady we brought into the club, and I will find out if anyone's interested. But in general, if you don't have your own numbers, then use Club A's number or Club B's number. Like use 65 and then strive for better. But that's just to show you how just focus on moving the needle by 5% on the retention, even though if you've only got 100, then then like 5% is only 5 people. Like how big a deal is that? But that this is what it actually means in the long run of things, okay? So it does make a massive difference. So marketing math, pop quiz number 2. If both Club A and Club B, I hated word problems when I was a kid. And if somebody told me that there would be so much math in marketing, I would have had a completely different career path, I'll tell you. But I spend my whole day in numbers now that it's become a science and not an art. Anyhow, digress. So if Club A and Club B ended 2023 season with 100 members, how many new members does each club need to attract in order to increase their 2024 membership to 110? So both of them ended with 100. They both won 110 at the end of 2024, but Club A has a 70% retention rate and Club B has a 65% retention rate. This math might be a little easier than last one. All right, so Club A needs 40 new people, not 10 new people. And Club B doesn't need 10 new people, they need 45 new people, which is almost 50% of what they had in 2023. Right? So people forget sometimes, oh, well, we want to increase our memberships by 50, 50 members this year. Great. Well, how many are we going to lose? Because if we're losing 150 and you want to increase it by 50, now we have to attract 200 people to the club. It's a lot easier to just keep the 50. Like, what can we do to keep them around? Because then they're still with us, right? So sometimes looking at the numbers requires just a little tiny bit of math, and everybody will be fine. So we're gonna for the rest of the presentation assume 10% increase in registrations year over year, 5% improvement in retention year over year. These are our growth metrics. We want to increase our sponsorship commitments by 100% within 3 years. So that's 33, about 25, 26.5% actually, year over year for 3 years gives us our 100%. And then 100% again, in 3 years, we want to have twice as many volunteers and twice as much engagement. So 3 years from now, we'll have double the number of people showing up at events, at games, at fundraising events. We'll have people on wait lists to become coaches and team managers and lead up committees, and you'll just have more support and you know what to do with. So these are the goals, yeah. And there we did it. Growth objectives. Yay, you guys are amazing. You're like the fastest marketing directors ever. This stuff. All right, here's where the fun part comes. Let's make a plan. All right, I'm gonna stop right here. Who has questions? Anybody? No questions, Jocelyn, Justin? Nobody? People are asleep or they're nodding along. Okay.
Anybody want to chime in, comments so far?
Show me some faces just so I know that you're not totally asleep or glazed over. All right. Pressure is on all the people with the video on to let me know when, okay, lady, move on, we got it. Yeah, John. You got it? You got my back? All right, good. Thank you.
One more video, yeah.
Hey, another video. Woohoo! Whoop, whoop. Thank you. All right, let's make a plan. See how easy I'm making it for you? Once you have all of the information that I've just gone through with you, then you'll have everything you need to fill in the blanks with this fancy prompt that has been tested, tried and true with ChatGPT, and you can press go and have your have your strategy built for you. Not even really kidding. So if you spend the time with, work with the board, dig deep, find the numbers, build your brand, know your brand values, know your positioning, where you want to be, where you want to grow, where you are right now, and be super, super honest about it, then you can actually just plug this right in and it will give you a 3-year strategy. So you're going to get this in the follow-up. You can copy and paste and fill in the blanks and drop it into ChatGPT. You can just click over here. These things are clickable. And they should be when you get the link for the presentation. So you can just click right through. I've tested these prompts out in ChatGPT 4 and in the free 3.5. So there you go. You're welcome. Just, shot myself in the foot. 25 years of my life, I could have charged a whole bunch of money for this, but I'm just going to give it all to you because you're volunteers and I've been there. I get it. So this is where you're going to go. So you're going to, at the bottom here, you're going to drop in your whole vision, mission, value statement so that it knows who you are and who you want to be and your value promises and all the rest of it. You're going to drop in the goals that your club has, if the objectives that we just went through. You're going to tell it who your primary audience is, who your secondary audience is, and you're going to describe your internal audience, your members, alumni, stakeholders, sponsors, whatever. And then you're going to say, you're going to let it know, like, hey, this is how long we've been around, a little bit about the club. We've been around this long, this many years. We were, if the name is really established, like give it some information about the name of the club, what the club's super, super proud of. So if the club loves its logo and loves its name and its heritage, tell it. And then if there's any programs that you're planning to launch this year, then you're going to put that into the prompt here as well. And then you want to make sure that you let the prompt know the resources. So you want to describe, we've got a 100% volunteer run club. We have no paid staff, or we have one paid staff member who does, XYZ summer camps or whatever it is. So you want to let it know what human resources are available to be incorporated into the mix, because you don't want it to give you a strategy that you just can't possibly execute on, right? Because that's just a waste of time. Even though it's not a lot of time, it's like 30 seconds, but whatever. The waste of your time leading up to this point. And then once you hit that prompt in the same chat, you're gonna just copy and paste these ones in. You'll copy and paste this one based on the strategy that you just gave us, that we've just been building in this chat. Can you generate the optimal brand messaging guide to help our marketing team effectively reach our core audiences through social media, posts, ads, emails, and other communication? Boom. And that will give you the whole breakdown. And that's what you copy and paste and give to all of the volunteers and the interns that you get to come and help you build your brand. If you outsource and hire a creative team to do some graphics for you, you want to give them your brand guide. And this is exactly where you're going to get it from. And again and again. So then you're going to say, do the same thing in the same chat right below. You're going to drop in this prompt to help you create your content plan for the year. So it's going to give you like the themes, what you can talk about on social, what you can talk about on emails, different ways to integrate your brand messaging, the whole bit. And then like you could get super, super specific here, and you can talk about, here's some of the things that we want to hit. We want to talk about boys and girls rugby teams. We want to make sure that we celebrate moms on Mother's Day and dads on Father's Day. And we want to talk about our commitment to volunteers. We want to celebrate Movember for the guys. We want to celebrate International Women's Day for the girls. We want to host a banquet and awards in, November. And we want to, like, whatever. If there's stuff that has to be part of the content plan, drop it into that prompt. If you don't know, then just see what it does and leave it blank and see what it brings back. And then you can go in and like edit the prompt and say, oh, no, actually, I want to make sure that we talk about this here and this here. And then it will incorporate it in for you. And then you'll drop in below that. Now we need to brainstorm some content themes each month, blah, blah, blah. Like, you just go for it. Get it to do all your work for you. You can copy and paste these prompts, drop it in, fill in the blanks wherever it's green, fill that in. You're going to drop in like in the number of, now this one is the budget. So great, align the strategic plan and all the tactics that you've just talked about with the budget, keeping in mind the growth objectives, like remind it of the objectives. And then last year we ended the year with this many members and this many volunteers and this many sponsors that brought in this much revenue. And we want to grow, based on what we said. We have a budget of whatever, or you don't have a budget, but we need the budget to return on investment 3-to-1. So like that's better odds than Vegas. We want to actually hit way more than 3-to-1 return on our investments because we're not for profit, but ask ChatGPT to start there, 3-to-1, because that's like a corporate standard and it understands that better. You're going to want to aim way higher than a 3-to-1 return just because that's what we need to do as rugby clubs and as not for profits. So, and then in the same thread again, you're going to drop down the sponsorship plan, and it will lay it all out, like a community sponsorship plan that will make sense for your club, because now it knows so much about you. It'll be able to drop in, go and talk to this type of business in your community because it aligns with your brand values, and talk to them about their commitment to girls sports, or their commitment to co-ed sports or flag or whatever it is. It'll lay it all out for you. Now, giant warning on ChatGPT. Everybody has feelings about it. Some are true, some are not. So here you go. It does not know your club or your business the same way that you do. You are going to be the authority on your club and your business. Hands down, no question about it. But ChatGPT is going to help you get 70% of the way there, which, I mean, who doesn't want a little bit of help? So whatever it spits out at you, know that you have to go line by line and read it and like edit and tweak it for your own reality and your own brand and everything else. It's not going to get everything perfectly right, but it's going to really, really, really help. So, and hopefully those prompts help. So any questions? Anybody have feelings about ChatGPT they want to challenge me with? I'm open. I can handle it. I live with rugby people. Good. No? Everybody good? I'm excited. Does everybody use AI already?
No, I don't, but I see why you would.
You sound opposed. You sound like you've got feelings about that.
Not at all. Don't use it, but I'd love to see what it comes up with and what database it has of the stuff that it's drawing to put this together.
Yeah. So, I mean, it has a lot of general knowledge already, but the reason why the very first prompt is laid out the way it is you're telling it, you're giving it the information that it's going to work with. So you don't want it to, there are GPT bots that are programmed to go and scour the internet and find information and bring it back to you, and like, benchmarking things and all that stuff. I really would love for you guys to do the work together with your clubs to decide on what you want to tell it to know about you. You have to drive its knowledge base. And so that's why that first prompt is really important, because you're giving it every piece of information that it needs to be able to build you a strategy that is unique and tailored to you. It won't know anything about you. And so if it doesn't know information, sometimes ChatGPT can just make it up. They actually call it hallucinate. And it does. Like it will just make something up sometimes. So that's why you need to go through like a fine-tooth comb, go through everything that I wrote for you, and you need to give it as much information as possible. Don't treat it like you're typing something into the Google search. That's not what a prompt is. A prompt is, treat it like it's somebody sitting at the desk with you and you're actually physically correcting their thing, or you're giving them information to work with. Like talk to it. You'll see in the prompts, I write in, hey, that's great. That's awesome. Thank you. Like I'm talking to a person, but I'm doing it in the voice of my brand, right? I'm talking to them in my brand voice so that it further understands and gets the brand that I'm trying to build. Do you know what I mean? So that's it. The knowledge base that it pulls from, that's up to you. You tell it where to go, especially if you're using ChatGPT 3.5. You can also end any prompt with, if I haven't given you enough information, please ask questions. And it will say, hey, it'll ask you the question, what do you think about this? It'll give you 4 options and you pick one and be like, then it'll give you the thing. So it's pretty intuitive that way, but treat it almost human-like. I know that's creepy, but but it is super, super, super helpful. It's like the cheapest teammate you'll ever hire. GPT-4, worth the $20 a month, I say. But you know, try the free one first because it's also super handy. Anyhow, more marketing math metrics. Any other questions? Sorry, before we move on. Did we get any more? Nope. Nope. Okay. Customer acquisition costs, CAC. You're going to see this a ton, especially if you're working with Google Analytics. This is the cost to acquire a new person to your club. So basically marketing dollars divided by members, but because of the way that I split out my budgets, I split a budget specifically for acquisition. And so I like to just say, what's the acquisition budget by the total number of new members? And that's my CAC, but you can figure out what works best for you guys. The customer loyalty cost. So what's the cost of retention? Obviously, my retention budget divided by the number of customers that stuck around or members that stuck around. That's my CLC. That is not a factor that you'll see a lot in marketing metrics. Possibly more now with like the SaaS companies doing more loyalty things, but you won't see that metric a lot, but it's really important for clubs to keep a track of that, because honestly, if you're not spending enough, then like if you don't spend anything on loyalty, you cannot expect to have great results, right? And if you don't have a budget per se, but you want to assign sort of valuation to efforts, then you can do that until such time that you have been able to carve out a marketing budget for retention. But it is really, it's really important. So try to make it happen. All right. And average annual revenue per customer, ARC, total revenue by number of members, pretty super simple. All of that to say that you really, really need to figure out your customer lifetime value. So this is a number that most marketers sort of keep as like the target. That's the big number they keep their eye on, because there's so many things that can affect it. Now, your retention rate affects it. So you want to figure out the customer lifetime. We did that previously. How much one customer will spend in a year. You can affect that, even though registration costs maybe will stay the same year by year, or they'll increase by a little bit. That isn't the only opportunity that a member has to spend, right? So you're going to have, and in all of the numbering and things that I'm doing for clubs, I'm just factoring in like the club fees, right? Because that's what you can control. So the club fees are one aspect, and that might stay fairly consistent, but like, how do they show up to events? Are they spending money when they show up to events? Are they spending money at the bar or at the clubhouse, or are they buying hot dogs? Like, are they contributing to the overall? So that's like a overall revenue divided by the number of total members that you have is like the annual revenue per customer, right? It goes beyond just the fees. If you are revenue generating in other areas, which I highly encourage. So you're going to do that. The revenue divided by the customer multiplied by the customer lifetime, and then you've got to back out what you spent to acquire that customer, and that gives you your customer lifetime value. So super, super important, because you can affect it. You can affect what they spend and increase that. You can increase the loyalty and how long they stick around. And then in doing so, you're going to probably spend a little extra money on them. And so like that customer acquisition might change a little bit, but in the end, their lifetime value is going to increase exponentially. Because if they spent $1,000 a year at the club and you were able to increase the lifetime that they stay with you by improving the retention, then you've just added $1,000 just by keeping them on for one more year. So that's it's just not a bad little metric to have. Pop quiz. Club A and Club B both report annual revenues of $300 per member, and a customer acquisition of $50 what is the customer lifetime value for each club? Club A has 70% retention. Club B has 65% retention. Anybody remember those numbers? Do. All right. Keeping an eye on the numbers. I'm just going to keep going. So the lifetime value for Club A is $940 because they're sticking around a while. All good. Club B, $820. Okay, so that's all right. But what if Club B increases the spend, the annual revenue, by $50? And that's it. They don't affect the retention and they don't affect anything else. But now all of a sudden the lifetime value increases by a lot more than just $50. Yeah, makes sense. So it's a good metric, and that's what that one's, because you'll see it all the time in your metrics as the customer lifetime value. Super important. It's also important in setting your marketing budget up. So figuring out what that budget is going to be in the first place. For-profit companies typically try to keep their marketing budget at a 3-to-1 or 5-to-1 of the customer lifetime value. There's no way a not-for-profit organization spending that much money on marketing or acquisition. It's just not going to happen. But one of the metrics that they want to stick to is maybe 7-to-1 or 10-to-1. So you want to have a 10-to-1 return. You spend $1, you make 10. That's all right. Or spend $1 and make 7. I mean, all of those metrics you would go to Vegas with in a heartbeat. So it's pretty good. But a better way, and the way that I tend to do it, especially for not-for-profit organizations, is I decide what the projected growth revenue is going to be. So not the overall revenue, but just the extra. So I'm going to do all of these growth initiatives, and those initiatives are going to earn this much extra money beyond what would have happened if we did nothing. And then I take 30% of that projected growth gain, and that's what I base my marketing budget on. So it's money that wouldn't have happened. If you don't do anything, you're not going to make it, but you'll still make this other piece of revenue. Your returning customers, your super loyal fan, whatever. But we want to increase, like net increase. So you need to put more effort into it. And so sometimes it's easier if you haven't captured any of the metrics, so you can't really figure out all of these other formulas. Sometimes you just like, okay, what do we want to make next year? What's the additional over what we made this year? What's 30% of that? Okay, great. That's my marketing budget. Let's go spend that on marketing to drive the growth. Yeah, does that make sense? This is how a marketing budget should, in very, very loose terms, be divided and allocated. So you want to spend 35% in acquisition, 25% in retention, 10% on building your brand, because that affects your sponsorship, and then 30% on a marketing team and tools. So platforms to use to make things simple, subscriptions to like Canva or whatever. That's what your website, all of those kinds of tools. So that's how you're going to divide up. Once you figure out what your marketing budget is, you're going to divide up the spend in that way. Does that make sense? Cool. Now, when you get this link to this presentation, you're going to get to this slide and it says swipe this, and you're just going to click on it and it's going to open up. Now, is it going to let me click? How do I make it let me click?
Might be because you're just sharing this window with us.
Shoot. We're running out of time, are we? Yeah.
Yeah, we got 13 minutes left.
Oh, okay. So there's going to be so many questions when you get to this. I'm going to skip by, and then hopefully we'll have time at the end.
Yeah, if we have time at the end, I have it up as well, so I can always share my screen if we want to bring it up for questions.
Okay, yeah, perfect. That's amazing, because I think it does require a quick walkthrough. Anyhow, in here, there's going to be a sheet that says sample tracker. You'll be able to see that I filled it all out, just so you see kind of the information that you can capture in there. Once you fill that in, the rest of the plan falls into place for you. But when you first open it up, if you go to what it says 2023 tracker, if it doesn't say sample, then it's just going to be like kind of empty and weird. And then the next one is going to look like it's got all of like the missing formulas and things. So it'll look broken. Don't worry about it. Just fill in the one that says sample tracker, or not sample tracker, tracker. Anyway, it'll make sense when you get it. Okay, so essentially your plan is done, and I'm going to speed through because I really, really want to show you that thing because it will make you feel so much better about everything that we just covered. Once you have your plan in place and you know exactly where and how you're spending all of your money, then you need to figure out how to best execute your plan without drowning everybody in like the bits and pieces of trying to do it. So you want to make sure that you're automating as much as you possibly can and that you're leveraging the audiences that currently exist. So you currently have an audience, you have an email list, you have social media followers, you may or may not have a loyalty program. And if you don't have one, look into them because you've got people that keep coming back and they love you and they want to tell all their friends about you. And if you can reward them in some way, that will just grow exponentially. So that's investing in leveraging your current audience to help bring things forward. When you are doing an ad campaign or you're doing a registration push, think about a loyalty layer to it. What can we do to engage our current members or incentivize them to promote this on their networks, to share it on their feed? Can they sign up and get an affiliate code? And then we can reward them with swag or with $20 or with whatever, because now you know what the customer lifetime value is. You know that every new person represents almost $1,000 or whatever your customer lifetime value is. Then spending $50 or $20 to incentivize a current member for bringing somebody in is like, oh, that makes sense, because I know that new person it represents like $1,000 or 1,500. Right? So it's easier once you have all of those numbers and metrics to make decisions like this. Feedback surveys, amazing way to get information and get feedback and engagement from your members, as long as you are activating the results and the feedback that you get. So if people keep giving feedback but nothing changes, then they're going to stop giving feedback pretty quickly. And then, yeah, a referral and affiliate programs. So you also want to make sure you're leveraging other people's audiences. So your partnerships with local businesses, create graphics and give it to them so that they can share it on their social media. If they sponsor, if Cobb's Bread drops off the buns for your barbecue one time and you're promoting them on your social media because they've sponsored an event, we'll create graphics for them that say, like, I'm a proud sponsor of the rugby club, so that they can proudly post on their social media feeds as well. And it looks nice and it looks like their brand, but it's, because they're not going to spend time to promote your brand. They've already just given you a whole bunch of stuff. But if you make it easy for them, then of course they're going to flip it and post something on it because it makes them look good too, right? That they're supporting local organizations. Joint events, what other organizations like Girl Guides or some non-competing but still in the same target audience. They're not another rugby club or a soccer club, but they're another club that is sort of family oriented for kids programming and what have you, right? You can do some joint effort events for them or charity fundraisers or what have you. But you want to partner up with organizations or people that have big audiences that you want to tap into and similar audiences. You don't want to waste your time if they don't have any kind of audience that's similar to yours. Guest contributors, sometimes if you've got somebody on your team that is a really great blog writer or really great at writing the emails, and there's an opportunity to write for Rugby Ontario or Rugby Canada or do some kind of like cross contribution with maybe a sports store or something else. If I don't know, Sporting Life, or I'm trying to think of something like Hockey Life maybe is doing some kind of an event and they need help or something. I'm not sure, but in your own community, opportunities will come up. And if you've just got it on your radar, opportunities to collaborate and get your club and the people at your club out in front of audiences that could potentially convert is really great. Either getting in front of audiences or getting in front of other sponsors. Obviously that would help too. And then user-generated content. This is sort of key. So encourage, a lot of times with social, I know that I had this problem just getting photos. Like, for me to go out and take a bunch of pictures at the events is great, but I don't have permission from parents to use those pictures necessarily, right? So it's great to get the parents, encourage the parents to take pictures of their own kids. They're doing it anyway. Just tag the club. It shows up as in your mentions, and then you can just reshare it. And user-generated content has way more traction than content that you take and post natively. So definitely encourage that. Do like a whole season long hashtag contests with your membership to encourage user-generated content. You can collect them all at the end of the year and make an end of year calendar, and you sell the calendar for fundraising and whatever, and people get to have their kids' pictures in the calendar. Like, whatever, do something with it. But it's having leveraging other people's audiences, because they're posting it on their own social feed, but they're tagging you, so then you can share it, reshare it on yours. And now it's gone out to their whole network and yours as well. So that way it's very good. And then obviously new audiences. So that's where search engine marketing comes into play, content marketing, social media, community outreach, public relations, social and search advertising, all of those initiatives that usually this is what people think marketing is, just this one slide. But now it's like this entire hour and a half time that we've spent together. So this pretty much wraps it up. I feel like there's going to be lots of questions. How the heck are we going to do all these things? That Excel thing will actually help you integrate that a little bit more, but essentially you want to make sure that you get organized, you optimize everything you do, run it through that brand filter. Does it make sense for our brand? Does it make sense for our values? You want to automate as much as possible. There is somebody in your membership that understands how to integrate all the platforms that you want to work with and automate the syncing between everything, so that it literally doesn't take 15 volunteers to figure it out every single time you want to do something, that it can just happen whiz bam boom all by itself. Somebody knows. So you have to talk to everybody until you get someone who knows how all these things can work together. I don't even have ChatGPT's logo in here, but all these things can work together to simplify your whole life. So you can actually integrate any sales that are happening, anything that you update on your websites, automatically it posts something onto Instagram or in your stories or wherever. You can post directly to social media from Canva if you want. Everything that you post from Canva can be integrated into MailChimp, so that you don't have to recreate the wheel and upload and download and share files and whatever. It's all just available. So if you're using any of these platforms, make sure that you are if they have a not-for-profit plan available, that you're on it. A lot of them do offer discounts up to 50%. Sometimes there's free. I know Canva, I believe, gives you a free Teams app, like a free Teams account for not-for-profit. Either it's free or it's super, super discounted. And so it's really worth digging and making sure that you're not paying more than you have to for any of these. And that you are leveraging the power of automation and integration as much as humanly possible. This here is Task Aid. It's an AI task project manager. You basically say, I want to rule the world this year, and it will give you a play-by-play, like task by task of what you need to do. So once you've got your strategy all set out, then you can use Task Aid to break it down into tiny chunks. And then it will help sort of delegate and distribute the work, hopefully. There's not a ton of integrations that you can use with TeamSnap, but definitely don't forget to dive in and learn everything about TeamSnap and all the different communications opportunities within their sponsorship opportunities also. So learn about it and use it and milk it as much as possible. They said that they're starting to, build out some integrations through the platform. So keep your eye out for that. If it can integrate into your MailChimp, then you only have to like write one email to MailChimp and it goes out, whatever. So you don't have to do things 4 times. But you want to make sure that you have a strategy in place for how you're going to use TeamSnap. It does become a bit of a forgotten hero sometimes. So I'm a little parched. Okay, so execute and then measure. So can you fire up that other document? Do I have to stop sharing, Jocelyn?
I will stop yours as I take over, I think. Here. 3, 2. Right, you can see that.
All right. So this is right. So this is the one that does have the tracker in it. I wish I had the other one. Okay. So this is the first page that you're going to open up to. Please make a copy. You've only got the viewable file. So you'll just want to go up to the file menu and click there, hit make a copy, and then you'll save it as your own, and then you'll be able to work with it. So head on over to the tab that says sample. So this is all just sample information. I just put numbers in. This does not reflect any club that I may or may not have been associated with or any of those things. This is just random numbers that I plugged in. So you're going to do the same, except for yours are going to be real numbers. You're going to track as much of the information as you possibly can, drop it in for this year. If you don't have the information, then you can either guess, just make sure that you highlight or signify somehow that that number is in there because it's a guess and not anything that you are for sure of. And then as you plug in the number, other things are going to start to fill in. So if you want to head over, is this? Yeah, this is the one this is what you're going to fill in. So there's not a lot of stuff here. And there's a bunch of like things that look like it's an error. Just leave the ones that are gray. That's an automation, it'll auto-populate. I gave you the formula. I left them all there. Sometimes people hide the formulas of these things, but I want you to know how the numbers are being calculated. So that if you have a problem with the formula or you want to change it or whatever, you don't like my formula, then you go right ahead and do that. But I just wanted to give them there for you so that you can do it. It says error. It won't be an error once you start plugging in the numbers for everything else. So this is going to help you track everything to like your number of volunteers and all of that. So if you scroll down a little bit, I want to just talk quickly about, is there a further down for sponsorship? So there's the events. You're going to track all the revenue and different sources of revenue there. And so for the sponsors, over on the right-hand side, yeah, in there's the probability of renewal. Everyone's got a gut sense, right? You know if a sponsor is mad at you or they don't feel like they've gotten value from their sponsorship, so they're probably not going to renew again, that sort of thing. Super important. You can just click in that gray area there. It'll give you a drop-down menu, or it should give you a drop-down menu. It's not working, so I'll make sure.
Because it's view only.
Oh, that's yeah, right. Because you haven't actually made the copy yet. When you make the copy, it'll give you the option to be like 25%, 50%, 75%, and then you get at the end like an overall, where does our sponsorship look right now? As everyone's sponsorship runs out this year, oh no, we're not in good shape for next year, then you know exactly where you need to spend some time and invest some energy this year in building up. And so this is going to be the Bible. If you plug everything into here, it will give you so much information. If you roll up to where all of the different age groups are here. So I think I just put everything the same for everything on the sample one. So, but here, this is where you'll be able to see and start tracking retention numbers per age group. And then when they split, when they're not co-ed anymore, and then you'll be able to see per age group, per gender, that you'll see exactly where your big dips are and where you need to focus on. Sometimes it points to like, oh, I wonder if that, we have to take a look at that program, because we seem to lose a lot of people after they work with this coach, or they go through this program, or there's something about this that that we're not addressing or whatever. Like it really does tell you a whole lot about the organization. It's really important information. So at the very least, it allows you to ask, questions that might be helpful, specifically to certain members of the club. I'm going to try, let's open the floor actually to questions while I try to access my other document so you can see what it looks like filled out. Jocelyn, are there questions from the peeps?
Nothing in the chat right now.
I didn't see anything.
Feel free to unmute as well if you want to add comments, questions. It's just over, but we'll take a few minutes to kind of wrap up thoughts and address anything.
I'll share my screen so you can see what the plan looks like after it's finished.
So we'll be getting a hard copy of this whole presentation, and that will be in the so we will draw that, and then we'll get all the links and stuff that Jill's shown us here. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we'll put the recording up in the virtual portal again, as well as this slideshow, and it has the link to this in it as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That's a big thing.
Here's the tracker, the sample one that I completed. And then this is the plan here. So it's going to spit out for you. Move the people over. It's going to tell you exactly your revenue. So in 2023, it shows revenue of 220,000. But with all of our growth metrics and our retention rate and all the different metrics all calculated in, this year we're going to add in 150,000. So in order to do that, we're going to spend 30% of this 150 to be able to achieve the growth that we want. So within that, it is all broken out here. So we're going to focus on increasing your registration by 10%. These are the strategies we're going to focus on. These are the tactics we're going to focus on. This is what is required, the resources required to make it all happen. Now, immediately you see we need a website that is optimized and it has less than 40% bounce rate. If you look at your website and it's got like a 95 or 70% bounce rate, you probably need to focus on cleaning that up this year. And then by the end of this year, you'll have that cleaned up, because if your site's not optimized, any money you spend driving people to your site is going to be wasted, because you'll end up paying for the click, but your site won't convert to the sale or to the membership or to the sign up. So it's super important. My dad was in construction and he always said you have to use the right tools. So a man without a hammer cannot get very much done. So anyway, in his world. So these are some of the metrics that you're going to use to drive traffic. So the marketing platform you're going to use to drive traffic to this super optimized website in order to convert. And then this is how you're going to measure the success or failure of the tactic or of this marketing platform. And so then all the metrics are filled in for you. Some of these things are based on benchmarks. So in this file, in the plan file, it's the opposite. Whereas the tracker, anywhere where it was white, you filled in this one, anywhere that it's gray, you're gonna kind of take a look at, because that's where I've added in benchmarking data. Your statistics, when you get to the back end of your own website or you look at your analytics, your stats might be totally different. So this was just the plan I made based on my sample tracker and based on some of the benchmarking stats that I have. Once you have your own statistics and you've been tracking for a year or two, you'll have your own stats. Definitely use your stats over the benchmarking ones that might be available. Okay, does that make sense? So this really should lay out exactly the plan that if these are the growth metrics that you want to target this year, then this is a pretty fair plan of what it should look like. Now, it's fine if it takes you 5-10 years to achieve them because of the size of your club or the resources available, whatever. this is the ideal situation. Now you know what to achieve, or the team that you need to kind of put together. It's just this is the benchmark and the sort of the target. If you can't meet everything, then you can at least refine which one of these objectives are we going to try to do, or which one makes sense to do first, right? Always optimize your tools first. Make sure you're using the right tools. So do that first. If you had to pick one thing, do that first. And then, just do your best to weave in the brand into everything else that you're already doing. So if you have to just pick one area to improve every year while you're weaving the brand in and developing your brand and your brand voice and vibes, that makes perfect sense. But at least you know what tactics to use to achieve the objective, what strategies work, and how to measure your success, and that you're doing this sort of on repeat. All right, that is what I've got for you folks. If there's any questions, drop it in the feedback form. I think there's always a feedback form after these sessions. Drop it in there. The questions will get back to me, and I'll create like an FAQs and answer as many of them as I can, because sometimes once you get into this and start plugging in your own numbers, the questions might come up then. So feel free to send them on through. And I'll be happy to answer as many of them that come my way.
Oh, thanks, Jillian. I don't see anything in the chat, and I know it's late. Really helpful, informative. Thank you, says Leanne. Yes. So I think there's a lot in here, and a lot of people probably wheels are turning, and will continue processing and more as they watch the recording of this and come back to us with some questions. So if you're looking through this later and you've got some burning questions, or we sign off and you're like, oh, I should have asked her about this. Yeah, send an email, send something back to us, and we'll follow up with Jillian, and we can get some more information for you as well.
I did drop my contact info on the last slide, so if you want to reach out directly, that's fine too. But I think the best way would be to send it back through. That way, folks at Rugby Ontario also know the questions that everybody has, and they can help further develop this amazing series that they're developing. So that is also super helpful to share as well. But yeah, both of my emails there. I've got 2 companies on the go: Audacious Team and the A Team, and Athena as well. So you can reach me at either or both, or just yell loud. I'll probably hear.
Awesome. Okay, so with that, thank you all for joining us tonight. Hopefully everybody, as we said, has got lots of notes and wheels spinning with where they're going to go next from this. We are back in exactly 3 weeks again on April 8th with a panel discussion on partnerships and stewardship. So I think it's actually going to play really nicely from this conversation. So we hope that you'll join us and bring some more friends with you as well. Keep spreading the word of what we're doing here, because the more people we have, again, the more we can share this information and have some great conversations and best practice sharing across all of our clubs, all of our provinces. All of our province, sorry guys.
Yeah.
Hate to do this apparently. Okay, and you can also watch we'll be adding a new date to cover ONCA compliance. We're working on the details of that to get out to you, so watch for that as well, and details of a spring conference coming up. It'll be a hybrid conference again. Other than that, hope you all have a great night. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.